Hey guys, it's Victoria with the Creampuff Pony, and I am here today with a very good friend of mine. Her name is Cassidy Gammon, and she is the bar manager over at Lazy J Farms in Gallatin, Tennessee. She's been training professionally for 7 years, but she's been riding for 27?
Yeah, it's 25, 27, somewhere around in there.
Somewhere,
Sounds
double
good.
digits.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. But we want to talk today a little bit about just fears within riding. My personal belief is riding is very much a mental game as much as it is a physical game. And you're on a big animal going pretty fast, and depending on what you're doing, sometimes you're jumping over things, and that's pretty crazy.
Fear for me, like when I think fear in the saddle, I'm not naturally a super fearful person. I think that's just kind of how I've it's just kind of how I'm wired. But as an instructor, that's obviously something you deal with every single day. And there are moments in training that I've had horses that have made me afraid. And does that cause a little doubt? Sure. Is that okay? I don't know. Yeah. I think it's normal. It's natural. But I don't know. Fear is something everybody's going to deal with no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, I totally get it. I'm a nervous rider. And I guess for me as an instructor, it helps to understand that fear and anxiety, especially when I'm working with students. Because I've had times with students where I'm like, hey, I understand you're afraid. I would never ask you to do something that I'm not comfortable doing myself. And yeah. I can tell you that, yes, it scared me too. But you know what? I learned from it. I grew, and I'm a better rider because of it.
I think early on as an instructor, I struggled with that empathy piece because I knew the horse they were riding. I knew what they were capable of doing, and I felt like I had control in that situation, but they didn't feel the same way. So I had to adjust and learn and kind of go back to those moments when I did feel afraid. I think jumping's one fear that I can come back to, especially out this cross-country course. This is a new field for me.
Same. Cross-country is intense.
Especially on a green horse or one that's never done it before. And these fences are no joke, although they're probably pretty much beginner fences. But for me, it's a big deal. But that fear piece, I think it's healthy, honestly, in the saddle. If you get on a horse and you're absolutely fearless, that's when you're going to get hurt. You've got to have a healthy fear or fearful respect, if you will, for the animal, for the situation. And I think that's... I
100% agree with you on that. I've definitely had times where I've been on a horse where I'm like, this may not go so well. Someone may be calling 911 today. And I paid a lot more attention to what I was doing, where my horse was at physically, mentally, emotionally, and all that stuff. And we ended up having a pretty good ride. We may have had a moment or two where it was kind of sketchy there for a little bit, but we made it through and it was fine. And I feel like I think I would prefer that as a rider as opposed to just throw caution to the wind, just blindly go for it.
I had one student early on that she got on this horse, and we were out in the field. We're this again super early in my teaching career. We were out just trail riding basically, and she just was absolutely 100% fearless, and that made me nervous because this chick was like, let's just take off up this trail on this 6-year-old horse that's I go to Saddle Club every weekend and run him, and I know what he's capable of. He's a good horse, but she had zero fear, and that made me nervous. So I think you need a healthy fear. As far as me personally, what I fear at this point in my career would most likely be fear of not measuring up. Not necessarily getting afraid in the saddle, but not being able to like you said earlier when we were talking, perform at that level or make that horse perform and do what it needs to do, because I have so many different people riding my horses. I'm afraid that I'm not doing good enough for the horse, and as a result for my clients.
I feel I have the exact same fears. I get worried in the saddle, and I guess for me too, because I ride 9 client horses a week. I don't even ride my own horse usually, but I get really worried about something that could happen that could hurt the horse, and then I will blame myself for someone else's horse getting hurt. And it could be a freak accident. Accidents happen, I would, most instructors wouldn't put a horse in a situation that they didn't think they could handle.
Mm-hmm.
But that fear of, maybe, who knows, something could happen. This horse could get seriously hurt. I could get hurt. Someone, bystander could get hurt. That freaks me out.
I think you had a moment there with Lula in the field when you guys kind of a little bit of a wreck over the cross country, and she hit a jump and hurt her leg, and I feel like you
that was
when you start talking about that's what I think of.
Oh, that was a moment for me. So for those who weren't there that day, what happened was I was schooling this horse over some cross country fences. We was doing a big open cross country schooling at our farm. And
you'd never ridden this horse on the cross country before.
I had never jumped this horse, I don't think.
Yeah.
And so the owner was just like, do it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, do the combination.
Yeah, I was like, we'll do it. So we was going up to it, and it just, I wasn't in it. I didn't feel the horse wasn't in it, and it just went bad real fast. She ducked out at the last second. I went off. As she was turning to run away, she clipped her back left with her back right foot and just ripped it up pretty good. And I literally, I held it together until we got back in the barn.
I was going to say, for perspective, too, this is one of the most expensive horses on our property.
Oh, but, like...
You're coming... Yeah, it's a lot of pressure.
I've never sat on a horse this expensive.
Yeah.
But I lost it.
Yeah.
We got back to the barn. I immediately started crying. And then, like, a couple minutes later, like, the owner comes by, and he immediately is like, oh, no, it's okay. He's like, falls happen. Right. And I literally was just sobbing. I was like, no, I don't care that I got hurt. I was like, I was worried about the horse, and she got hurt because I didn't add leg.
Oh, we were all more concerned about you than the horse. And it was like, well, Tori's worried about the horse. She's fine.
Well, didn't you also have another rider come off at the exact same time?
Just knock out all the fears in 1 minute.
Yeah, students coming off, horses getting hurt, everything.
But that kind of thing is unavoidable. That's just part of what we're doing.
And it happened, and I will say the good thing that did come out of it was the next time I rode that horse, next time I jumped her, I was like, okay, this is what I need to do as a rider to get this horse over the fence. We had a great round. We did some gymnastics lines. She schooled great, didn't knock anything, and I was like, all right. Mm-hmm. So I guess in a sense, I do think, yes, it is good to have some level of fear with riding, but being able to manage it and understand that it's coming from a good place of just your body naturally wanting you to stay safe is one thing, but to the point where you feel like you can't progress or grow is where that gets difficult. Right.
What are some things in those situations or do you have like a mental coaching you do for yourself when you get afraid, or how do you deal with that fear in the saddle when you're on a...
I'm not gonna lie. There have been times where I've just pictured, so there's this guy that works at our barn. He's an older guy. His name is Wayne. Lovely. We love him. And there was one day he just looked at me and he just very sassily said, girl, just get over it. And that's kind of what I play in my head a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it could be something as simple as that, but whatever it is that, kind of helps reset you mentally, give you that little bit of encouragement to just
I'll
just
do that.
Go for it.
Or I will also sometimes, I will just turn into a joke. Like if I'm on a green horse that's a little spooky and kind of trying to bolt with me a little bit, I'll just kind of sit there and make jokes to myself. Be like, wow, we're just zigging around, we're zooming. And I'll play it as a joke until I can get them relaxed, because that helps keep me relaxed. Because with riding, riding is very much either the horse or the rider gets to have a panic attack at a time, but it's never the rider's turn. So just turning it into a joke for me, and just laughing it off and just taking it as a joke is enough to help me stay calm that I can work through it.
I think for the fear I talked about with being afraid of letting down the people in this industry, I personally try to deal with that fear by just falling back on, if it's a horse that I'm working with, if my goal is to always do right by the horse, then it doesn't matter what happens with the owners or what happens with the folks, regardless. Yeah, they may not like what we do, but if my gut feels like this is the right thing for this horse, that's my duty as a trainer, to do right by the animal. Now, as far as the kids go, I think just to be more empathetic and understand that we don't have to get everything done right now or even next week.
Yeah.
Meet each kid where they're at, and don't ever forget why they're here in the first place. They love these animals just as much as we did when we started, and keeping that in the forefront of my mind, trying to help kids through their fears is critical. Just slow it down. Just take everything back a notch, slow
break
down.
it down step by step. I had a lesson with a student about 2 weeks ago where we was working on a maneuver. It was getting a little rushed and the horse wasn't able to do it. So I was just like, hey, let's just slow it down. Let's break it down one step at a time. And once we slowed it down and took that pressure of having to be perfect away, they were able to do it. Because then they were able to relax and think through it.
And then you're teaching them how to deal with that fear.
Yeah.
Right?
Some of my students are now better at handling their fear than I am.
Oh gosh, yeah. There's a couple of kids that would get on. I mean, I just, if it's got 4 legs and it neighs, they'll get on it. So. I
used to be that kid.
I remember those days, and it's just like the older you get, the less you bounce, and there's a lot more at stake. And, it hurts a lot more.
Yeah, I had a fall like 4 or 5 days ago it was a green horse. We was working on jumping. I was taking her over a jump she had never seen before, and she ducked out at the last second, and I went right off the side. And let me tell you, I'm only almost 20 years old, and I don't bounce.
Were you afraid though in that moment? Did you have any fear, or was it just like, oh crap?
It happened so fast I didn't have time to be afraid.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking in my mind, because I got thrown off of a horse I went to go look at, and I didn't have time, and it was like just gut react, survival instinct, your adrenaline's pumping.
Yeah. And
even after that, I mean, I'm not naturally a fearful person anyways, but I got back on the dang horse because that's what you do, right?
You just get back on.
Yeah, and I probably shouldn't have, but I didn't do much afterwards.
My very first riding trainer, she told me one time, she said, unless you're leaving an ambulance, you're getting back on the horse.
Right.
And that's how I ride today. That's how my students ride. I mean, obviously, you want to look for signs of concussion or anything like that. Like, you don't just pop right back on and just,
I've even had rides where kids are so afraid. All I had them do is just sit on their back, and then we got right back off. So.
I've had rides where I've come off a horse and just mentally been so shooken up by it. I just get on, and we just have a little cool out. And we move on with life. Alright guys, that's going to be all for this episode today. I hope you have a lovely week. Thank you, Cassidy, for joining me.
Sure thing.
Alright, we'll see you guys next week.
Oh yeah.